Okay, welcome to the Polly Tea with Z. How exciting, episode one. I actually recorded an episode ages and ages and ages ago, but then the sound wasn't working, and it was also during my internship where I actually wasn't even allowed to really be posting TikTok, so a podcast really didn't even make sense, actually. So, and I was so overwhelmed during it that I was like, I don't know why I thought a podcast would make sense then. But a podcast makes sense now because I have so much free time. Yeah, but it's basically like my TikTok, but just in podcast form. But also even better than my TikTok, I think, because it's more conversational. Whereas with my TikTok, like that timer, it stresses me out. It's very like, get to the point now, 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 now. So it's like you want to be conversational, you want to be casual, but you're just like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and you're just like, oh my god, like who wants to listen to this? I mean, people do, to be fair, shout out. People actually do watch my videos, but I don't know. I feel like I'm still gonna post clips of this to TikTok because it's not like a you have to watch my podcast because it really isn't about that. Like my whole thing will always be keeping people educated, letting people know what's going on, staying informed, but also in a way that it doesn't feel like a lecture. Um yeah, so that's kind of the vibe that I'm on. Also, like some of this information, it's like you probably don't even need to know this detail, and I won't even go into too much detail about loads of things, but just so you know what's happening, so you can be like, okay, so the government spoke about this week. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, this bill came forward, just so you know what's going on in your own country and what your government's doing or what they promised to do and what they're not doing. Clock that tea. And I also want it to be more like, I can say my thoughts and my feelings without getting attacked by mobs online because I don't know if you guys have seen. This happens every time. Every single time I mention immigration, I already know what my comments are gonna look like. I don't even really check my comments on a day-to-day basis anyway, which I probably should start doing. But when I'm on my phone, like when I'm scrolling on TikTok, like I just see them come in. They're like, "Go home, get out of our country. Ireland is full." I'm like, okay, if Ireland's full, really got nothing to do with me. That's not even true. But if it was true, take it up with someone who cares, because I'm not the one. I have no influence in policy decisions. You should probably say that's someone who does. Hi, you know. So this happens every time I talk about immigration. So I really should know better, but alas. But yeah, I really feel like I want to be able to speak my truth. I want to be able to like have opinions, say what I want to say, um, that kind of vibe. So yeah, but I'll make sure obviously the facts are the facts. Like I'm not here to just like sway people's minds. Like that's please. Please, 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 please. That's not my vibe ever, ever, ever. But yeah, I'll always be like, and I think this, and I think that, and isn't that weird? Whatever. But the facts are the facts, and I will always, always come correct. Everything is researched. This is not new. This I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, guys. One thing about me is I research. I spend hours and hours for one TikTok video. It'll take me hours to research because I'm like, yeah, but what if I like accidentally messed this up or I got this number wrong or I said this like nope, never mistake because I'm paranoid. So, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Zelensky's visit to Ireland. Vladimir Zelensky, president of Ukraine. This is the first time a Ukrainian president has actually ever visited Ireland, like on a state visit anyway. Maybe somebody came here on their hollybops, we don't know that. But first ever state visit. So that's interesting. He came with his wife. First time I've ever seen her. I saw her fit when she visited Catherine Connolly, and the fit was fitting. It was a nice fit, honestly. I gotta give her tens. But yeah, he spoke in the Dáil on Wednesday. And when he was there, he kind of was just talking about like how grateful he is for Ireland's support. We've been there from the beginning, and we keep like continuously pledging our support, pledging money also. He left Ireland 125 euro richer. I mean, not him specifically, but Ukraine gave him 125 million. So 100 million for non-military support and 25 million to help with their current energy costs. So, yeah. And so far, we've given them 340 million euro in support. I mean, who's doing it like us? I mean, actually, almost every other European country, to be fair. But that's a lot. That is a lot. But interestingly, though, when Vladimir Zelensky went into the Dáil, it was full of TDs and senators, and he got a standing ovation. Everyone's clapping, clapping, clapping. Guess who wasn't clapping? The people before profit TDs. They stood up though, but they didn't clap. And do you want to know why they didn't clap? because they are against the like military escalation. They think that this war can be won with words and not fighting. Use our words, not our fists, as our parents would say when we were younger. Let me actually quote him on this, or like I think it was Richard Boyd Barrett that spoke. But he said, Putin should get out of Ukraine and allow the Ukrainian people to decide their own future. It is very clear that this and the previous government have been cynical in using the war in Ukraine to further undermine Irish neutrality and back EU militarization. Because obviously, people before Prophet have continuously spoken about the fact that, you know, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil want to increase defense spending because of the war in Ukraine, also, getting rid of the triple lock. So now I think to him, this is like another step. It's like, guys, I keep telling you guys not to do this, and yet you keep giving money to more military escalation, and it's just a bit confusing why you're doing this when I keep saying, I mean, he has no power, obviously. Richard Boyd Barr, Paul Murphy, Ruth Carpenter, they obviously have no power. They're in the opposition, but they've all been very, very vocal about this. So I think every time we invest in anything kind of military related, in their mind, they're like, this is really going against our neutrality. And I keep saying this and you keep doing it, you know? Like another thing he said is he thinks the 100 million in military aid is, and I quote, yet another flagrant breach of our neutrality. Like, that is their big thing. It's like, if we're a neutral country, then we shouldn't be doing, like, we shouldn't be giving money we're picking sides in a war basically if we give money to one country and not to another. Like, we're not giving 100 million to Russia, you know? So that's where he is on that one. And there's even more. He said, as a neutral country, we should be using our unique heritage and position to argue for non-military solutions to this terrible war and to militarization more generally. And this comment is kind of like a callback to something Zelensky said that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Ireland is a neutral country, but not an indifferent country. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I wonder, question for the audience, do people think that the people before Prophet TD's not clapping is disrespectful, or a fair enough protest to the military escalation that's currently going on? T. Also, another aside note, the level of security was like Trump level. Like, I don't go outside, and I'm joking, but I don't really go to town if I can help it, so I didn't really see a lot of this, but a lot of people were talking about how intense the security was. I have a friend who works across from wherever Zelensky was staying, and there were snipers on the roof. There was two. She said at the beginning of the day there was two snipers. By the end of the day there was like five or six. I didn't know that Zelensky had threats like that here. I was wondering if maybe it's not that he has threats, but it's more to be like, we see you, you matter, you're important to us, like, look at all this we've trotted out for you, all this security, all this money we've spent. Like, the guards were on the streets. They've been on the streets heavily these days anyway, but more so than usual. So I wonder if this was more of like a stance that they wanted to take on that. So, next story. This one's a bit of a mess, actually. This one is tea. This one is drama. This is poly tea, really. Okay. So basically, this is this week. The Shannon were debating a defamation amendment bill. Okay, so the Act came out in 2009, but it hasn't been updated since then. So there was a bill put forward, or amendment bill put forward, that introduced anti-slap protection. So SLAP stands for, and let me not get this wrong, strategic lawsuit against public participation. So this is usually when like powerful individuals and corporations or companies start hitting all these people with lawsuits, not because they want to win, but to intimidate people, to silence them. It's usually against like journalists, activists, people that would criticize, these people or companies. So these are like kind of laws or protections that they're putting forward to protect them, so that like a judge can straight away strike something out of the courtroom if they think, okay, you're clearly doing this to intimidate this person, like you actually have no interest in winning this case, you're just doing this to waste time, honestly. So some critics think, some like the journalists and like all of these people think, it's a welcome step, but it doesn't go far enough. Like, we really should be doing more to protect journalists and protect free speech. We're just at the moment like behind in this because the EU have been on this for a while, so we're just trying to catch up. But even then, we're still behind. But whatever. The Shannon were debating this because the Dáil had already debated this. It had passed, and the next step is for the Shannon to like give it a bit more scrutiny, come up with some amendments, some new ideas. So an independent senator, what's her name, Lynn Ruan, came up with some amendments. So it's time to vote on them now. They've debated them all day. It's time to vote. However, there were a few senators missing from the room. And like the way it works is that you like shake a bell, like I don't know, every 4 minutes or something to warn people like, come on, come on, come on, we're about to vote. But eight senators were late. And instead of carrying on with the vote, because you can vote when people aren't there, but instead of carrying on with the vote, Senator Ruan alleges that the Cahirlock or last Cahirlock, so like the chairperson or deputy chairperson, in this case is the last Cahirlock is Maria Byrne. So Miss Ruan alleges that Miss Byrne, who is a Fine Gael senator, stood outside the door for a few more minutes, or she was asked to stand outside the door for a few more minutes so that these senators could get back in time for the vote. I don't know why I have an image of her just like standing outside, like on her phone, taking a few calls, like a fake phone call, while there's just like eight senators like running through the Shannon trying to get in time there. I don't know why. That's like such a funny image in my head. But Miss Byrne alleges this is not true. Not alleges, she states this is not true. She's very angry that Miss Rowan would even suggest something like that. But it did happen. I mean, they were supposed to vote. It was delayed, or like the time was extended. Then those eight councillors got there, or these eight senators got in there in time. Let me preface that they are coalition government senators, got there in time to vote. And Miss Rowan says, or Senator Moran says, like, if that was an opposition member, we would have voted. After 3 minutes, you actually would have shut the door, like locked it, so that people couldn't get in to vote. And she was like, this has happened before. Like, people have locked the door if you're late, so you can't get in to vote, and this is how it goes. But now all of a sudden, that's not what we're doing here. We're letting people stroll in leisurely. I don't know if they strolled or ran. In my mind, they ran. But we're letting people come in late or delaying time so that they can come in and vote to shut down my amendments. Messy. So Miss Rowan makes this. I don't even know if I'm saying her name right actually, but whatever. Right, this is what happens when you read things but not hear it. But anyway, the chaos, if you will, started to ensue when Miss Rowan accused Miss Byrne of stalling so that these people could get there in time. And she's like, I absolutely did not do that. Miss Ryan was like, yeah, you did. And like, it's kind of implying that you're not able to be impartial if you're willing to set a dangerous precedent that we can delay time so that specific senators can get back in time to vote a certain way. So, is it how it went down? I wasn't in the room. I want to be in the room where it happens. Every time I say I wasn't in the room or room where it happens, like I just think Hamilton, so it's kind of hard. But yeah, it just reminds me of the whole Verona Murphy speaking rights debate in the Dáil because like this is exactly like kind of the situation where it was like your coalition minister and now people can't trust our coalition TD and now people can't trust if you're able to stay impartial, if you're always just going to rule in the way of the government. We don't know. But messy. And she was saying that they need to. Miss Byrne was like, if you don't like the way that it happened, you can refer it to somewhere else. Like, they can deal with this. But the vote happened. It's going to happen. This is the way it's going. So basically, this week, Marie Sherlock from Labour brought forward a motion into the Dáil and it passed. And it's basically called, or it's calling for the enactment of the new National Clinical Programme for Trans Healthcare in Ireland because trans healthcare in this country is abysmal. I knew it was bad, but I'm now learning how bad it was. Basically, we have one gender clinic in Ireland that provides gender affirming healthcare, and the waiting list is 10 years long. They see 160 patients a year, and this is in St. Columkille's Hospital in Loughlinstown. 160 patients a year for the whole of Ireland. Is that not crazy? Also, they just call themselves the National Gender Service. That's it. Like they just decided that they're not mandated by the HSC. They're not mandated by the Department of Health. No trans people were involved in any of the agenda that they've set, like how they assess people, the support that they give. No trans people involved, and it shows. But somebody posted on Transgress Um, I think they're just kind of like a they raise awareness for trans issues in the country. They posted a video outlining the type of questions that you would ask when you go into an appointment looking for gender affirming care. And they are like I can't even really repeat it myself. I'm gonna play Paul Murphy bringing it up in the doll because I don't know about copyright if I can play the actual video, but I can play his video. So let us just listen to the type of questions that they ask people. We'll discuss after.
And the truth is that in this clinic, transgender people must undergo a dehumanizing, humiliating assessment process. They are asked inappropriate and invasive questions which have very little to do with gender identity or medical transition. In some instances, trans people have been denied important gender-affirming healthcare if they've been diagnosed with ADHD, autism, or for not answering inappropriate and sexualized questions in a way deemed correct by the clinic. Yesterday, Transgress put online the interview. I'd heard about the existence of this interview, but hadn't heard it up until then. And it's shocking in terms of how invasive, how inappropriate the questions being asked. They're not something that should be happening in a proper national gender service. I quote some of the questions that were asked to someone seeking bottom surgery. Can I ask you a bit about your mental illness? When was the most serious episode of mental illness that you had? Were you drinking at the time? What type of drink do you like? On Tinder, what was your profile then? Were you experiencing a lot of erections? What else did you experience in terms of sex life? Can you describe what it is about your penis balls you notice or don't like? Are you happy receiving as well as giving? Are you capable of receiving an orgasm? Would you use a strap on or sex toys? Just, this is not.
Guys, these questions look up the actual interview as well if you want on Transgress so you can hear the doctor's voice. Guys, 8 years of college. Doctors go to 8 years of college and this is what they come out with. This is the level of intelligence we have been given. Is it not what? So invasive, and it's actually like, what has that got to do with this person wanting bottom surgery? The questions about the mental illness, even then I was like, wait, what's going on here? Sex toys or strap on. Like these are questions you ask somebody like you want to date or something. Even like the like what type of drink do you like? Like are you flirting? Like what is this? I'm confused. I just so inappropriate. And like again, this just shows that trans people have not been involved in this at all. How do you expect trans people to feel comfortable going to the hospital or going to the GP and asking for help when this is what they get? A trans person seeing that, now they're probably thinking, oh, I don't want to go through that. And then they're stuck in a body that they hate. They can't get the help that they deserve. And the consequences to that are dire. You know, like trans people, like their suicides rates within the community are so high. Mental health is the struggles that they go through on a daily basis because they're not getting the help that they deserve. It's scary. And it's like, as a country or the government at the very least should be doing something about this. Like, why is it that we only have one um like gender clinic in the country, and it's one that's not even mandated by the HSC? Surely they should have one. Then they should start their own. They should do something. I just don't like, why are we so behind on the times? Like, we are so past discussing, do trans people exist? Should trans people be allowed in this bathroom or this we're so past that. We are so past that when we're talking people's actual physical and mental health. It's disgusting. But this is where we are at. So shout out to Marie Sherlock for bringing this to the doll, for bringing the motion to the doll. Motions don't do much, to be fair, but it is a step forward. Um, and hopefully we progress from here. But also shout out to Paul Murphy for putting those questions, those interview questions, in doll record, because I'm wondering, I'd say some of these TDs have never even thought about the type of questions that trans people get asked when they're looking for gender affirming healthcare. I'm sure it's never even crossed their mind. Honestly, I don't think I've ever really thought about the type of questions you would be asked. But Minister for Health, this is something you should be looking into. Shout out Jennifer Carroll McNeil. I have the attention span of a fish. Like, why did I just take a TikTok break in the middle of filming this? I'm literally 25 minutes in. Like, no self control whatsoever. But anyway, we'll fix that with time. I'm on Substack now, so I'm trying to get into it. But anyway, Next topic is energy credit. Shout out Sinn Féin because they bring this up every week in the doll. Every week without fail. Like, this is their thing. This is the hill they will die on. Not like we never should have, the government never should have gotten rid of the energy credits. And they were proven right. I mean, this is something everybody knew. They never should have gotten rid of the energy credits. Like, the cost of living isn't over. I don't know why they keep saying it. They keep saying, like, we know people are. They're kind of scared to actually say that the cost of living is still here. They're more like, we know people are struggling. We know. But inflation has stopped. Like, inflation is steady now. So that's their kind of reasoning for everything. Inflation, inflation, inflation. It was bad before, but it's not bad now. Cost of living, however, still the same, if not actually worse. But anyway, Sinn Féin constantly bring up energy credits every week in the doll, and this week is no different. But this time they came with receipts. So a Sinn Féin MEP, Lynn Boylan, under the Freedom of Information Act, managed to find out information that the civil servants within the government said that the government should not be taking away the energy credits, or not that they shouldn't. Well, actually, they should. Basically, said that we can't afford, or people can't afford for the energy credits to be taken away, because every year, or not every year, from 2023 it was €600. So basically, Lynn Boylan said, according to the department's own analysis, when you take away the energy credits and the VAT reduction, the difference was €321 extra that households would be expected to pay this year. So energy bills now are more expensive than they were at the height of the crisis in 2022 after the illegal invasion of Ukraine. So Pure Starty and Sinn Féin are saying you knew all of this information, you knew how much people were already struggling, and now you got this advice on top of that, knowing that people were going to be struggling even more this year, and you still decided to take away the energy credits after having promised people these in the run up to the general election. Minister for Finance, Simon Harris, I'm getting used to saying that because what do you mean he's now Minister for Finance with no finance background? But I mean he's no background in anything, actually, except government. Um, but anyway, he told 6-1 that this was a misrepresentation of the data that they were given and that they know it's going to be hard for people, but we can't keep giving these one off credits. We have to do a targeted reduction. We have to do it slowly and surely so that it makes sense. Does it look like people have the time to be doing things slowly and surely? Like, where are people getting €321 from? I know I don't have that. Hello? What? I don't know. This is a bit bizarre, and they're really obsessed with this more targeted approach thing. But it's just interesting that they had this information that people were really, really going to struggle without the energy credits, and they still took them away. I know I get their reasoning to a certain extent, but I just don't think it's a good enough reason, honestly, and I don't think anybody thinks it's a good enough reason. So, yeah. The government love a plan, and they have another one. This one is called the Accelerating Infrastructure Action Plan, and it's kind of coming off the back of another infrastructure plan that they announced a couple months ago, which is one where they're going to spend €102 billion by 2030 to develop more houses, energy grids, blah 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 blah, that kind of stuff. Infrastructure, if you will. Um, but this new plan is to helping cut through the red tape. That is a problem. Like, how do I explain this in the best way possible? When they announced this plan a few months ago, I don't know when it occurred to them that there's so much red tape involved with actually building houses, the problem, a lot of the problems around like connections to water, sewages. They were now thinking, actually, how do we deliver on this plan? So they made another plan on how they're going to deliver on these plans. Okay, so it's designed to cut through the red tape when it comes to housing, energy grids, roads, public services, and like get these things done faster, because a lot of the time there's like locals will block things, local councils will block things. There'll be like legal decisions that make sure that cut like block them as well. Like example, the metro. The metro has been tied up in so much red tape that we're still talking about it. Has anybody even picked up a hammer to begin this? Like, it's still drawings at this point, even though they announced that it's been approved. But now they're thinking, but like, it was announced that it's approved, and now what? Sure, there's groups in Ranelagh at the moment who have that much power. Like, these small groups of people have that much power that they've decided they don't want the metro going as far as Ranelagh because they think that the building of it will be distracting. It'll be an eyesore. God forbid the poshies in Ranelagh have to see some builders. Like, what? Anyway, it'll cause congestion on the road. So it's like we must all suffer because you also don't want to suffer. Like, it's very, very, very selfish of these people, but this is just one case of many that happens around the country when it comes to trying to build houses or build anything in general. So this plan is to kind of cut through some of that red tape and also make sure that these people don't have as much power anymore to just stop things because they don't like the way things look. So, there's going to be 30 concrete actions, and each has a deadline, each has a responsibility, so it's like it has to be done by this time. So it's like different things like from legal, regulatory, delivery forms. So, what is the hope? Housing. It'll hopefully mean that the houses can be delivered faster, transport, better transport, the metro being one thing, and the M50. Guys, the news around the M50 or like the conversation around the M50 is crazy. Thankfully, I actually live really close to the M50, but I don't have to get on it ever. I don't even know the last time I was on the M50. But when I would come home from work, I crossed this bridge coming from Dundrum, so you can see the M50, like you can see it. If you're on that bridge around like five, from any time like 5 to 7, you're just seeing red. You're just seeing red, the backs of everyone's cars, and it's just lines and lines. And like, I actually just feel so bad for these people because it's like, I wouldn't have it in me. If I get stuck in traffic for more, like 20 minutes, I'm like, I should have just, I'll get out the car and leave it. Like, I just can't do it. So, the fact that there's people who have to commute day in, day out, 2 hours to get home, 2 hours to get to work, and then you're also paying the toll there and back, and it's like a €5 each way or something for some people if you have to go through two tolls, and then you have to pay for gas, and then you're just wasting your time on top of it. So apparently they want to do something with the M50, but then I also saw in the news that like the M50s they've built as much as they can. Like this is it. It's at capacity. This is it. So I don't know what they're going to do there, but they want to do something there. So this is hopefully going to help with that. When it comes to energy and water, they want to it's going to help speed up grid expansion, invest in more renewable projects and sewage schemes. And then when it comes to health and education, hopefully we can build hospitals faster because we have a great record when it comes to building hospitals. Shout out to the children's hospital that's still being built. Um, God knows when that's going to happen. God knows when that's going to happen. But and also ensuring that we can build more schools without delay. The thing is, for this to work, all of these targets that they're working on with this like accelerated plan has to happen in the next like 6 months or something. Because if they don't hit these targets now, then everything it's like a knock-on effect. Everything from then on doesn't work. So will they hit these targets? I don't know, because if they don't hit it in the next 6 months, the government will not be hitting their targets for this term. Absolutely not. No way. It doesn't work. And they won't be hitting it till 2030. I don't know why they set such a like they don't even the thing is they don't even do housing targets anymore because they can't hit them. They haven't hit them in years, so they just decided they're not gonna give them out anymore. They're gonna keep that one to themselves. I don't even know if they have them internally, but we're not seeing it then outside anyway, the housing ones. So yeah, okay. Another thing that I'm thinking is like, how's this gonna work? Is one of the main things is they want to take a bit of power away from judges or like take away a bit of their legal power because obviously a lot of these things are like people just keep going to court and saying, I don't want you to build that there. I don't want you to build that there or there or there or there or there. So they're trying to take away a bit of power from the judges so that they can't keep ruling in these people's favor so that we can start wrapping up these houses, the metro, the grids, whatever. Okay, but in that in itself, I'm like, is that not going to cause even more legal problems that they are going to be tied up in court with? Like, is that not another issue? But I mean, they have to do something. So this is not being me being like, don't even bother. It's not going to work for you, honey. They have to do something. I'm just wondering how they're going to do that. To be fair, I'm sure it's somewhere in that 140-page plan, but also I don't actually think it is because I was doing some research and I didn't get any answers. So. Our last topic, this is very hypothetical at this point. It's just kind of conversation that's happening. But the Department of Culture and Communications said that Ireland, among with other European member states, are discussing a social media ban for under 16s or just for youngsters. I don't know what age they're thinking of at the moment. And this is following Australia banning social media for under 16s from December 10th, actually. So really, really soon. So that's YouTube is banned, TikTok is banned. Um, I think there's still a few things that are still available, like Roblox is still available. When I'm like, Loki, that's the number one demon out there. I've seen some of the shit that's on there. I don't understand Roblox. I don't know if I'm too old for it, but I don't think that's even true because I feel like a lot of people my age are on Roblox. I'm not an online person, like a games person at all. I just don't have the patience. So yeah, they're kind of considering that here, which is interesting. But then like, there's just so many issues. Like TikTok headquarters are here, Facebook headquarters are here, or like headquarters are here. So it's like we have so many big industries here that it's like it kind of would make sense if we banned social media for under 16s when they're all stationed here. That's just one opinion out there. Also, getting rid of social media for kids doesn't actually change much, I feel, because then you're 16 and then you're immediately bombarded with all of these things. Like what we need is education. Like you needed to teach men to respect women. Like, banning social media for these kids and porn and stuff like that. Like, one, kids will find a way to see it anyway. Sure, technically you weren't supposed to be on Facebook until you were like 13 or something. I was on Facebook when I was 9, I'm pretty sure. Like, you know, these things, kids are savvy. If they want to be on something that they want to be on, they will. Like, YouTube were even saying that it doesn't really make sense for people to ban it because now the protections they have in place with these like child locks and stuff will be gone. So if a kid figures out how to get on YouTube, they don't even have those protections anymore. Like, I feel like we need to get to the core of the issue. The core isn't even social media. I mean, in a way, obviously it is because we can't keep feeding these kids like, young women go on the internet, and the first thing they're fed is like eating disorder Twitter and like eating disorder TikTok and stuff, and it's like how many calories are in this and how many calories are in that, and workouts to get rid of your thighs or your love handles, or and creating an insecurity you didn't even know you had before. Like, that is what's happening on social media. The boys are on all on red pill Twitter within minutes of creating accounts, by the way. So yes, I understand the reasoning why people would want to get rid of social media, because you're just feeding kids all of these information and it's like you're not even letting kids be kids anymore. But these things are still happening. If we're not teaching people how to respect other people, people of different sexualities, people of different races, people of different genders, like if we're not teaching kids how to respect each other, then once they turn 16 and this is fed to them, this means like this break means nothing. They're just getting it later in life. And also, they still will probably find a way to get this information anyway. So I low key think social media bans are a bit of a lazy way out. That's just me. Obviously, just me. But I do understand, like, I do like a lot of the restrictions that are in place, and I do actually think a lot of this falls, in a way, some of it falls to parents, but I do think a lot of it falls to these social media platforms to actually have better controls on the type of content that they allow on their platforms, because there's no reason kids should be getting fed the content that they're getting. So I understand why parents would be like, no, I don't want you to even have a phone. I don't even want you to be in that world at all. But by 16, you're getting that information some way or another. Somebody's showing you that stuff, and this is the only way you're getting it without anybody teaching you right from wrong. Then that is a bit scary, but spooky. Ooky. Okay. But yeah, we'll see. It's just, anyway, the conversation here about banning it, it's like it's so early stages. It's just like we're looking into something. We were looking into the metro 20 years ago, and look at us now. Like, it doesn't really mean much. I feel like I think we're so far away from that, if even. But yeah, Roblox is scary actually. I don't know, because you can be 5 years old talking to like a 25-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old. Like, there's no boundaries on there. Like, you can talk to anyone. It's actually very scary. I don't think I would let a kid on there for sure. But then it's like, you can't just keep banning things from people because they'll find a way to get on there. And it's like the more you tell somebody you shouldn't do that, the more that they want to do that, especially with kids. Bruh. My mom said you can't go on Facebook. Trust, that account was made the next day. So, same with Instagram. Same with Snapchat I made late because I was like, what the fuck is Snapchat? But, yeah, it's scary. It's scary, scary out there. But yeah, this is the end of episode 1. I have nothing more to say to you guys. There's so much out there actually that I probably could talk about, but I'm just gonna leave it for here today. Hopefully this is just episode 1, so we will get better, we will get used to it. But I think for now we will leave it there. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, I feel like I'm gonna watch this back and be like, okay, I can't put that out there. And that is no good. But I feel like perfection. Oh, what's that quote? It's like perfection is the enemy of oneself or something like that. Or maybe I just made that up. I don't know. I think I made that up. But I'm gonna try not be a perfectionist and just instead of waiting for the perfect episode, just try to keep getting better and better and used to this. And hopefully it'll all make sense in a while. But yeah, thanks for listening. If anybody even is listening, I know my friends will listen, so shout out to the girls. But yeah, thanks guys. Talk to you next week. Bye.